Are you ready for a nostalgic ride back in time? Then join AM Vintage's Totally Retro, where it's not just a podcast, it's a time machine. Now here are your hosts, Adam and Mari.
Welcome back, everybody.
Yes, welcome back. This is another episode of our Totally Retro podcast.
Yeah.
And we're looking forward to this episode because it's something that we probably talk more about.
This podcast today should be totally awesome.
Totally, right?
Right? It should be radical.
Do you know how much I think it would be so annoying if we kept saying totally through the whole thing?
Totally. Right?
Well, today's episode is called what? What do we call this one?
It's called Growing Up in the Tubular 80s.
The tubular 80s.
Yeah, I added the word tubular.
I was going to
That's
say the rad.
in the rad 80s.
Yep.
Yeah. Hey, but you know what? Seriously? Gag me with a spoon, Mari.
Oh, gosh. We're not going to start with those.
Remember the Valley Girls?
Yeah.
How they talked? All those girls from the Valley.
Yeah, they had those. Yeah, I couldn't stand them.
You couldn't?
I couldn't stand those.
That was a big thing back then.
It was. But I don't, like I said, I don't know if I could keep going with the same
You know how, like,
lingo and.
back in, probably like the 40s, like the 30s and 40s, it was real popular to talk like, oh, yeah, hey, wise guy, yeah, I'm going up to the, yeah, we did that, yeah.
Call everybody broad.
That broad, yeah, But like in the 80s, it was real popular to be like, gag me with a spoon.
And totally awesome.
That's
Radical.
totally awesome, yeah.
Right. Well, but today is not going to be just about, it's not about the language and it's not about the lingo. I think this is more about what our experiences were back in the 80s, which I hope everybody can relate to who's been probably either,
Yeah.
I don't say born in the, this is more of those who are probably born before the 80s.
You were born in the 70s,
Born
right?
in the 70s. So, yeah. I think those, I think people that were born in the 70s and 60s could probably relate to us more
Sure,
when we're talking
sure.
about the 80s.
Yeah.
What do you remember more?
Well, I was born in 1979, Mari. So obviously I don't remember like 1980. You know what I mean? I don't remember 81. I don't remember 82. My memory probably starts in like 1984.
Really? I
You
do
know?
remember 1980. And I remember 1981 only because that during that time I was in Texas. And I was
You're in Texas?
in Texas.
Yeah.
Like Alva says.
Yeah.
But I think I remember that only for the fact that we were moving at that time, coming back. I shouldn't say coming back, going to Indiana,
Yeah.
which I dreaded.
You were sad, right?
Very sad.
What was the song that
And
was
the
just
song
breaking
that
your heart?
I told you,
What
the
was it?
song that gets to me is Sailing. Right?
The one that's like, sailing,
Yes.
take me away.
And the climax, what is it? The Climax Blues Band, remember?
Is that who did that
I
song?
don't know. Celine is Christopher Cross.
I was going to say, yeah, I thought
But
so.
the Climax Blues Band, is it I Love You?
How does that...
Oh gosh, how does that one go? I don't even have my phone.
Okay, well,
But it's I Love You.
okay. That's all
Yeah.
you need to know.
Yeah, when I was born, or something, he says something, when I was born, a younger man. I haven't something.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, it's
I
been
wish
a long
I
time.
wish I could-
And I wish I could sing you, but I cannot sing
Yeah.
for the
If
light
you
of
could
it.
just,
So,
just sing a little bit for us, Mari. Come on. No. You never...
but I think for those who know it, it's Climax Blues Band, and I never forget. Those were the popular songs that I heard.
Sure. I wonder how many people are going to
Hearing that.
pause this podcast just to figure that out real quick.
Yeah, and of course, was it Leo? Is it Sayer?
Yeah, Leo's here.
Love You More Than I Can Say was also popular at that time too.
Yeah.
And I remember I was probably 4 or 5 at that time.
Yeah.
Yeah,
What year?
1980. 1980.
1980. That's when you moved.
In 81, I think. I want to say 80,
Yeah.
81. Yeah.
That was like the biggest mistake of your life, moving from Texas to
And I've
Indiana.
been trying to go back ever since. But the 80s were interesting, I think, too. I can't say... It's funny how I can remember more the 80s than I remember the 90s.
You do?
I don't know is it something that we just block, or is it that it's more memorable?
No, my memory, I remember a lot of like the late 80s, early 90s.
And I do. I have more of the early 80s, and yeah, I still remember remember I told you laugh all the time. I still remember what I was for Halloween.
What were you?
In 82, 83 in kindergarten, I was Yoda from Star Wars.
Oh, did you have one of those
And I had
plastic?
those little, do you guys remember those plastic masks?
Yeah. It was just a mask in
And
the
then,
front.
of course, the plastic little costume that
It was
you tie
basically
in the
a
back.
garbage bag
Yeah,
with
that you tie in
with a
the back.
picture on it.
Yeah, and you tie it in the back.
Tie it in the back.
Yeah.
And the mask was just the front, and then it had like a rubber band that
That's
went around your
basically
head.
it. Yeah. So I still remember I was Yoda. And all this time I'm thinking, nobody said anything to me.
Yeah.
Like, teachers didn't say anything to me.
You know, I don't really
Friends.
remember too many of my Halloween costumes
Do you remember? Yeah.
as a kid, but I do remember one Halloween. My brothers and I, we got all dressed up, and this is the type of kid I was. Okay, so we got all dressed up, and we walked out, got onto the front sidewalk right in front of our house, and my brother Eric, I think it was, stepped on the back of my shoe on accident. And it made my shoe come off. And I was so pissed that my shoe came off. I refused to go trick-or-treating that year. And,
You serious?
And my dad made my brothers share their candy with me when they got home. You know? I didn't like stuff, don't
mess with you,
don't
huh?
make my shoe come off. You know what I mean? That was pushing it. So I remember that Halloween, but I don't
gosh.
remember what I was.
You don't remember what your costume was. Oh, wow. I wonder if you guys can remember what your costumes were. What?
I did have costumes that I wore all the time, though,
Yeah.
which were sometimes I would dress like Pee Wee Herman.
Oh, gosh. Oh, we've seen a picture of
Right.
it, too. Yeah.
And I did have the Michael Jackson Thriller jacket and the Beat It jacket.
That would have been cool to have right now.
So, yeah.
Can you imagine?
That was
Did you have
pretty
the glove?
I must have had the glove.
You had
I must
to.
have
Who
had
didn't
the glove.
have the? Who did not see the glove at what? I remember my cousins probably had bought it, and everybody took turns putting it on and doing their thing. But speaking of that, I think that brings us into, before we get into, we were going to talk about technology, but I guess that does come to form when it comes to, we didn't have social media at that time.
No.
I think cable was barely coming through. Like, remember the boxes, the
Yeah,
cable
yeah.
boxes,
You remember the
and MTV.
the old intro, the old HBO intro?
Who doesn't remember that? If you guys don't know what we're talking about, go on YouTube and just type in HBO.
like
intro.
80s HBO intro.
And it's like this
so good.
cool, like music.
So good, right?
Yeah, and it was like you knew the movie was about to start, or something exciting.
And it was like this camera that like panned over like the city, and it would like zoom in through the
Right.
streets, and
It was so awesome.
yeah, the song was awesome.
Yeah. And then, of course, you had to have the right cable, though, right? Because I didn't think I had all the channels.
You didn't have all the channels?
So I remember, I know this is illegal now, but we used to have the box. I don't know. It was a rectangle box, and it had the channels. Well, we used to use toothpicks to
Toothpicks.
put in between the channels,
And this would-
the cracks in the,
Yeah.
and we would be able to get a reception once we found the channel, and it was focused. We kept the stupid toothpick.
We
in
didn't
there.
know about any toothpick tricks.
And sometimes we would be on channels we weren't supposed to be on.
Yeah.
Well, you're not supposed to.
Well, the thing is
You didn't pay
back
for
then,
it.
you do remember though, like those adult channels.
Yes.
Well, my brothers and I, and just everybody that I knew. I mean, if you just left that channel on long enough, sometimes it would
You'll catch, like,
it
a
would
little
focus enough so that you could see what was going on. You know what I mean? And when you were a kid back then, I mean, that was
I was like, wow.
Yeah.
It was like, you shouldn't.
That was
do it.
exciting.
Yeah, it was naughty.
It was just as exciting as when I was
Yeah.
like 12 years old and we found a Playboy magazine in the woods.
Oh, gosh.
You know what I mean? Because there was no internet.
Yeah.
you know?
Again, there was nothing. So more back then was not, obviously you can find, and I guess this shouldn't be really talked about, was pornography. You don't
Right.
find that. You couldn't, obviously all you found it was in magazines.
It was only on paper.
Yeah. I'm not sure if it was done tastefully. Would you say? I mean, I'm not, obviously I didn't really
Yeah.
look at those magazines, but a lot of men claim that they were kind of tasteful back in the day than what they would be now. I'm not sure what they're talking about because
Yeah. I don't know. I don't
What
know.
would you say?
I would say they're a little tacky.
A little tacky. Yeah, but again, what sticks to mind when it comes to that, obviously we didn't have no computers. Oh, we did, but they
I
were
had a
starting to
computer.
come.
We
they
had
were
a
starting,
computer.
right? What was it, a Mac?
It was an Apple IIe.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, it was a floppy disk. And the only thing I ever did on that computer,
But what year did you have it?
it was like 87, 88.
So you had it more of the late 80s. I'm talking about like early like 82. I don't remember seeing
I was
them.
I was a baby.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I remember seeing one at a school maybe.
Yeah.
But it wasn't something we used.
I don't know. I have no idea how my dad got this computer because we were dirt poor. There's just no. When thinking back now, it's like there's just no way my dad could afford a computer like that. So, but I don't know. He had a good job and then he lost it. Maybe we got the computer right before he lost his job.
Maybe.
But we played this game called Maniac Mansion. And it was a floppy disk game about like rescuing somebody that was trapped in this mansion. And that was like the big
That sounds
game.
pretty cool.
It was awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you have a back in the day? I think we had what, Atari. We had Nintendo.
Atari.
I
Yeah.
did have the Atari. I think I played a couple of. I think it was, what is it? Oh gosh,
Frogger.
not Frogger. Donkey Kong.
Donkey Kong.
Donkey
Yeah,
Kong was
yeah.
very popular. But then when Nintendo came out, I think I was more excited about the Nintendo.
But we also did laser tag, which
Yeah.
was fun.
Laser
did
tag.
you guys do laser
I don't know
tag?
if I did laser tag.
I mean, that was like, it wasn't a video game. It was like you put these little like laser
Yeah.
things on your chest, and
Yeah.
you run around with these laser guns.
Because
And
you shoot each
Yeah,
other.
that was fun.
That was fun. I think games back there were different. But then again, we did things differently as kids too.
sure.
We played more outside.
Well, yeah, but I was up to
Unfortunately.
no good back then.
You were up
I
to
was
no
playing kiss tag.
Oh my gosh. No.
Yeah, all the boys and the girls in my neighborhood were like, "Let's play tag, but let's call it kiss tag."
Oh my gosh.
And you would like try to chase somebody
so
until you
you
find,
really,
and then you
really try to get
then you
somebody.
kiss someone, you find
Yeah.
them. Yeah.
Oh my lord. No, I think I was doing the opposite, obviously. I was over here. I was a big tomboy. I played a lot of baseball. I loved baseball
You did.
until that accident that I had. And I would never forget, it was the year the Goonies came out,
Yeah.
which was what, 84, 85? What was it? What was it, 84? Late 84?
If I had to guess,
85? Yeah, I remember I got hit with the hard ball
In the face.
in my face and it broke the two front teeth.
Yeah.
And so I remember going to the movie theater with my mouth all swollen because the dentist wasn't available at
see
that time.
Goonies?
And I had to see Goonies, yeah.
Yeah.
It was awesome. But the only thing I remember about the Goonies too, it never forgets, is the ending. There's an octopus in the scene where the kids jump in the water. There's an octopus that comes out of the water, but obviously if you look at today's, I guess the movie,
You saw that in the theater,
I think,
and
yeah.
they pulled it out for some reason.
I mean, you'll see it if you get the Blu-ray and probably the original cut or whatever. But yeah, it's unfortunate that they don't have it. Yeah, but that's something I remember though. But another thing I do remember during that time was, again, we had no phones, no cell phones. Which
No.
did you like that? That we didn't have any cell phones?
Yeah, because you didn't know any better. Some people that were like really cool had pagers.
big, but there was car phones. They did have phones
Car phones were
and
they
cell
were
phones.
giant.
They were
though.
giant.
And
Yeah,
most people didn't have them.
not everybody.
If you were making good money, maybe you had
That's
a car
true.
phone. But
That they were like big boxes, all the pages. I remember they looked like
yeah.
kind of like recorders.
And if you wanted to, and because you didn't have a cell phone, so you couldn't listen to music on your phone, so you either had a Walkman
Yeah.
or you just had some really crappy version. But Sony Walkman was like the good one, right?
Yeah,
Or you just had a big old
Yeah.
boombox.
that's true. I miss the
Right?
boom boxes, but I also miss the payphones. I really like the
Payphones
payphones.
were nice, yeah.
It was convenient to have, like now today I get it, everybody has a cell phone, but not everybody does though.
Sure.
Sometimes people can't pay their bill, and you're like, okay, so what do I do? How do I call for help? I think there should be stuff out there.
There should still be payphones.
Just in case for
but
emergencies.
Do you remember how dirty some of those payphones
Yes,
got?
I think
You know?
that's probably why. But another thing I miss about, I guess, when we didn't have that much technology was going to the library and just using the card catalog. Do you remember how sometimes it was hard to use that?
Because you didn't have... It's like today, if you want the answer to any question, it's at your fingertips.
Right.
And you'll get the answer within a minute, right? Mm-hmm. But it's like back in the 80s,
I still love going, though.
if you didn't know something, it might take you like 6 days before you could find out the answer. You know what I mean?
But I like the convenience, like going to this library as kids, getting a couple of books and checking them out. It was just the idea of reading them and then bringing them back and getting... Nowadays, everything, like you said, it's at your fingertips. But, I mean, but how many people read? How many... I should say people. I should maybe be more specific. Kids in general. I feel like there's a lot of kids today that are more glued to that phone.
Sure.
Than reading.
The phone or the Xbox.
The Xbox, yeah. And not necessarily doing the things that... And again, like I know you mentioned earlier, like it's... I always miss kids going outside and playing, but again, there is that safety concern because we didn't have that back in the day. I don't think we worried about our safety back in the day. It was so different.
Yeah. Back in the day, it was just like your parents would just say, go outside and...
Have fun, play. Come back when it gets dark.
I mean, you might go like 5 miles away. You know what I mean? Like, your parents have no idea where you're at.
That's true, yeah.
You just get on your bike and you just pedal.
Yeah.
You'll be in a different town, right?
Right. It's different. It's so much different. Now, what about our next topic that I guess we wanted to talk about was we have shopping. Do you guys remember going shopping? What stores do you remember? If you can remember those stores.
Well, what I remember most is like if you were in like, I don't know, like 5th grade or something like that, you know what I mean? And you came to school and people found out your clothes were from like Kmart.
Right.
You would get made fun of like it was, you know, you were poor, you got Kmart shoes on, you know what I mean? Like, I don't think it's like that so much these days. Like, I think...
No.
Nowadays, people go to Target, or I mean, people go to Walmart or Target.
Right.
And they just buy clothes and nobody cares, right? No. But back then, it was like, oh my God, look at you. You got the Kmart outfit on.
You needed to go to Montgomery Ward.
Montgomery Ward was like a high class.
And the Gap. Remember the Gap? They made so much, like the commercials.
I never went to the Gap until the 90s.
Really?
So I didn't know of the Gap in the 80s.
Yeah. And then Levi's. That's what I remember. You had to have Levi's.
Oh, yeah. You had to have Levi jeans, right?
But then when it came
how about Jordache?
Yes, Jordache jeans. Jordache jeans. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah. And then when it came down to like shoes, like it had to be certain gym shoes, right? It had to be what? Yeah. What was back then? Converse. And the BKs, right? The British Knights,
British Knights were huge. But you know what? We were so poor. Our shoes were Dunlops.
Mine were Pro Wings.
Pro Wings?
Do you guys remember Pro Wings? And then I remember the stores shopping at, it was Zayres back where we were at.
Zayres, yes.
We had Venture.
Zayres and Venture were the two that I remember a lot. And then Montgomery Ward. Mm-hmm. But if you wanted to get like some really like cool electronics,
Radio Shack,
you might go to, but you also might go to Service Merchandise.
And don't forget Circuit City. I think that was more towards late 80s, 90s.
Yeah, but that was around.
Service Merchandise was awesome. I like that.
They had some really cool stuff.
To look through
and their catalog was awesome, right? The catalog was great.
Yep. It was really good. But I do remember Radio Shack a lot. I do.
Yeah.
You could get so many things there.
It was so expensive.
I used to get my first little, what is it? What was the headphones? What is it? The Walkmans.
Yeah.
Those oh my gosh. Yeah, it brings you back. So shopping was interesting.
Shopping was...
Yeah. I'm not sure if we worried about the money a lot, though. Obviously, as kids, we don't think about it, but...
It was probably the same for our parents as it is nowadays, today. You know?
Yeah.
It just...
Because I don't remember how much a pair of Converse were back in the 80s.
I would imagine back in the 80s...
Probably like, what, Converse, $40 or $50?
You think so?
I don't know. I just don't remember. Were they $30, $20?
I guess like $20.
Yeah, maybe. We have to look that. If you guys know, let us know. How much were the pair of Converse during that time?
How about
Yeah.
how about food, Mari?
Gosh,
Where did you guys used to eat? Like, if it was gonna be a big night out for the family, where did you guys go?
We used to have a thing back then. I don't know if it's around. It used to. In Indiana, we had it was a buffet place called Shakey's.
Shakey's?
Yes. And that was, like I said, it was like an old country buffet. You know, you had
was
your
like that.
ham, your steak. Yeah, it was just like, it was so awesome. And I like that was, but it was a family thing. It wasn't all the time because it was expensive.
Sure.
But yeah. What do you
We
remember?
also went to a buffet, but it was the Ponderosa. Do you remember
Yes,
Ponderosa?
I do.
I mean, if we went to the Ponderosa, we knew my dad was in
Yeah.
a good mood, and like it was a good day. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
there's nothing my dad liked more
Yeah.
than going to the Ponderosa.
Oh, gosh,
You know,
yeah.
that was like high class
Right.
for us. You know what I mean?
Oh, gosh.
So,
But I kind of miss like those types of restaurants. I don't think they
Sure.
have them anymore. I think something else is not around anymore. And could be probably maybe early 90s would be the Sizzler.
Sizzler, yeah.
I missed that.
Yeah.
It was really good. Oh my gosh. What are you talking about?
And one place that was big back in the day, it probably kind of faded out in the 80s, was Bob's Big Boy, right?
Yeah. But then they had, what is the chicken place that we would talk about? Brown's Chicken.
Brown's Chicken was a lot bigger
Brown's
back
Chicken
then.
was more popular back in the 80s,
Yeah.
right?
I
And
don't
this
know.
is more for like
That might-
Indiana. That might be an Indiana kind of
well,
thing. or
Chicagoland.
In Chicagoland. I
Yeah,
don't
so
know if
people
that
in
were-
like people that are in other
Texas
states, they're
or
like
something.
"What the- Brown's Chicken.
There's
what
no
the hell
Brown's.
is that?"
Yeah, but out here, that's what it was. So it's mainly that.
Yeah, and unfortunately, the thing that Brown's Chicken became famous for was a massacre that took place in the restaurant.
Gosh. But don't forget that happened in McDonald's as well.
There was a McDonald's massacre.
Yes. Where there, I
that's
think it's
horrible.
called, I don't know how many people were injured. I think like 70 something people were. Yeah, they have the documentary. That one's pretty.
Jeez.
Watch that one. So that was early 80s.
Yeah.
But McDonald's, I really liked. We were talking about this earlier. We're talking about the food in McDonald's, how it's changed. But I think everything's changed in every.
In every, you know,
If it's
we
not-
were talking about, we were just talking about McDonald's, and I said I think the one thing that has gotten better is the nuggets. I think the nuggets are better. You don't agree with me?
And I disagreed. I felt like it tasted better back then.
Well, I just think now the meat is like, at least it's white meat and there's no like weird pieces in there. But anyways, one place that I do think has gone downhill over the years that I think used to be really great was Wendy's.
Me, it would have to be KFC. Kentucky Fried Chicken.
We're not never gonna get any endorsements.
We're not
from
gonna
these
get
people. We're not gonna,
endorsements.
you know.
But I mean, if I would endorse it, it would be to obviously to improve it. I would want to improve it. It could just be like the place, you know what? And maybe it's not even the food. It could just be where you have a bad experience, and then you want to say, "Oh gosh,
Sure.
this chicken was burnt or something." Right? A piece of chicken was burnt. But I feel like it's different everywhere. So it might just be in Indiana. It might be. I haven't tasted it really.
You haven't tasted it around here, Mari. You gotta, hey, come on, man. You're in Illinois now.
Because we like Popeyes too.
Yeah, we
and
like-
Popeyes out here just gave me a bad vibe.
They gave you a bad vibe.
Yeah, we just don't.
Yeah. Well, Popeyes kind of has a reputation. You know what I mean? They do. Let's just face it. There's a lot of fights and a lot of wild things go on in
Maybe.
different Popeyes restaurants.
Yeah.
But Wendy's, though, on the other hand, though, I think, unfortunately, when I think Wendy's went downhill is after Dave Thomas, the founder.
Yes.
After he passed away.
Where is the beef? Do you guys remember that?
Oh, I love Where's the Beef.
Where is the beef?
That was Wendy's,
That's
right?
what it reminds me, right?
Yeah. I also
Yeah.
liked back in the 80s was It's Time to Make the Donuts.
And make the donuts,
Yeah.
guys. Oh, every time that commercial came on, you knew it was Dunkin' Donuts.
Yeah.
And it's not the same anymore. Again, another place that I feel like it's not the same when it comes to donuts.
Well, I think back then a lot of the Dunkin' Donuts made the donuts fresh in there.
And now it feels like they're
Shops.
just bringing them in from.
They get delivered from some other, yeah.
It's unfortunate, but yeah. But even when it comes to foods, and we were talking about foods in the stores,
Yeah.
everything's changed. Now
Sure.
people are more concerned about calories. If this is made out of, what is it? Is it gluten free? Is it,
Nobody cared back then.
allergies? Yeah, right. Do we care back in the day?
Nobody cared about any of that. But maybe we weren't as healthy back then,
They weren't kind of, we were screwed.
Yeah. But I'm gonna kind of transition into our next topic though.
Yes.
Do you remember back then in all those restaurants, one thing that you could do that you can't do now? Smoke.
Oh gosh.
Everybody was smoking cigarettes. There would be of course there would be a non-smoking section, but the smoke would just waft right into and it'd hit you right in the face.
But you know what, Adam? There were more signs about no smoking. I remember clearly seeing the warnings and do not smoke and cause cancer or whatever, blah, blah, blah. But we still had family members that did not care.
Yeah. We used to, when we'd sit down at the dinner table, if we had like a family get together, it would be the kids and the adults all at one table.
Yeah.
The adults would all be smoking cigarettes with the kids sitting next to them. And that smoke, everybody's breathing in the smoke, right?
Right. It's just different. Like I said, I had an aunt who was not only a smoker, but a drinker.
Sure.
And you would think she would be drunk by the third, fourth. And she drank those tall beers. I remember I think they were Budweisers. Yeah. And she would just sit there and smoke away, smoke
and drink, yeah.
And this chain of smoke was just, we would be in a cloud of smoke. And never did anybody say, oh, isn't secondhand smoke dangerous? But now everybody's worried about everything, right? Everything gives you cancer. Everything
in cars
gives you,
too. Remember, people would just smoke right in the car, and the whole car is just full of everybody's getting clam baked in there.
But even that brings me to that, like the seat belts in the cars, right? Everybody was back in the day. I remember we had 4 or 5 cousins all in one back seat.
Yeah. Or if you were lucky enough to have a station wagon, all the kids just sat in the back.
Yeah, we can't do that no more. You can't have kids facing the traffic.
Or if you have a pickup truck, you just throw them all in the back of the truck.
Now everybody's worried about, everything's different.
Everything's different. You cannot, if you just want to have a cigarette, you got to have the kids leave the room and stuff. You can't blow the smoke in their face anymore.
You can't. Why would you want to?
No, I don't. I'm just
right. You think about things like that, but as kids, we just didn't care. It was just what it is, right?
Yeah. You wonder why everybody had asthma.
That's true.
What's going on?
Now you wonder what happened. Oh gosh, what else do we remember from the? Oh, now we're moving to the movies.
Yeah.
Movies, TV shows. Do you remember all that?
Well, TV shows. Do you want to start?
We can start with TV shows.
What was like a big TV show your family watched
that you remember? Well, we had several TV shows back in those days. Everything was from Wonder Woman to Family Ties to what is it?
Ties.
Three's Company. Married with Children. That was more probably towards the late 80s.
Late 80s, early 90s.
But we had Knight Rider. Oh my gosh.
What about Night Court?
I didn't watch it.
You didn't watch Night Court?
No, I just couldn't get into it.
Yeah, we watched shows that you probably didn't watch. Okay. We used to watch Night Court.
You didn't watch MASH, did you?
No, we did not watch MASH. We weren't really a MASH family. I know that people that were like diehard MASH.
Yeah.
But we watched Newhart.
Newhart?
Not the Bob Newhart show. He had another show after that called Newhart.
Well, I didn't watch Newhart. I watched Heart to Heart.
Heart to Heart.
Right?
Did you ever hear of
oh gosh.
Larry? And from Newhart, there was these three brothers. And the one brother would always introduce all three. And he'd say, "Hi, I'm Larry. This is my brother Daryl. And this is my other brother Daryl." Do you remember that?
No, I didn't remember that.
So it was Larry, Daryl, and Daryl. They were brothers, and it was great.
It's weird because we're kids. You think by that, if we talk about shows, that's what we would watch because
we watched whatever our parents
watched.
Yeah, whatever they watched.
But if we were to sit there and talk about if we watch cartoons, that's a whole different. I remember just what I grew up with was Sesame Street.
Yeah.
I never forget Sesame.
Sesame Street was awesome.
That was my go-to in the morning before I went to
Sure.
school.
Or Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood.
Mr. Rogers, yeah, I love Mr. Rogers. And what was it? The Electric Company. Do you guys remember? Or You Can't Do That on Television was
I loved
another
that.
one. Yeah.
Also,
It was,
Sherry and Lamb Chop.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
Oh gosh. And the Bozo Show. If you're from Chicago.
Yeah. The Bozo Show was
I was in
huge.
I was in Indiana.
We watched it
and I
every
watched it.
morning.
Yes, me too.
Yeah.
And I couldn't wait to when they got to the segment of the Bozo Buckets. I was hoping they would call my name, and then it never occurred to me that they're not going to call my name because I'm not in the audience.
Yeah, you gotta, or at least you gotta send your name in. I mean,
But even
Yeah.
then, like when they said, okay, what did they invite somebody, right?
Well, what they would do is they would call someone from the audience,
Right.
But also, if you like sent your name in, they would pick the person's name that was sitting at home, and they would win all those prizes too.
And I just thought they're going to call my name.
But what was that one show that you said that you used to watch? We watched a documentary about it, and I had no clue what it was. And it was about this department store where the mannequins come to life at
A
night.
special delivery.
Yeah.
It's from Canada. It's a Canadian show, but it was about that there's a little postman. There's actually the mannequin that comes to life, and I think the woman is, I don't know if she's the clerk.
Yeah.
Or she's the department store clerk
It
or
looked
something.
like a really good show.
Yeah, and then
from that,
again,
yeah.
it's kind of like what they reminded me of was kind of similar to like what they would do on Sesame Street. Like they're
Sure.
teaching you a lesson and whatnot. I think it was a pretty good
You
show.
remember Fraggle Rock?
I do remember Fraggle Rock.
That was great.
I also remember Degrassi Junior High, which was
gonna say
another
that. I was going to say that. yeah.
another show that was from Canada
Yeah.
that we loved. And we still watch it today.
Canadian television back then was really good.
It was. But they had some really strong topics when
They
it
did.
came to Degrassi.
Degrassi was
Like those things there I
teen
learned
pregnancy.
that you would hear. Yeah.
Yeah, like everything was on there.
Yeah. It was such a great show. Yeah. I know you guys have to, and if you haven't watched that, please.
And there's
look into
a group of kids on that show that formed a band,
the Zit Remedy.
Zit Remedy, and they actually had a really like catchy song.
What was it called?
It's like everybody wants something. I don't know, but it was a great little song.
We loved that one. It was awesome. Yeah. We bought the series. Actually, we bought it on. We
On
have it on
DVD.
DVD. Yeah. We should be able to watch that. That should be our go-to at nighttime.
I know we're gonna miss some shows,
I know we were gonna miss a lot of them
and later
because
we should
we didn't talk about Mork and Mindy.
Mork and Mindy. Yeah.
There's so many 80s and again. But then I think from the 80s too, we
Cheers.
watched.
Did you guys watch Cheers?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We watched shows from like the 60s and 70s. It was all
sure,
combined,
sure. Yeah,
Because
I
I
Love
watched
Lucy. We watched I Love
I Love
Lucy all the
Lucy
time.
all the
in
time.
the
Yeah,
80s.
and that was what 50s.
Sure.
I remember I loved the Monkees, and I would sit there and watch the Monkees. And obviously they're from the 60s, so there's so
The
many
Honeymooners.
shows
There
we
was
watched.
a lot of reruns.
Yeah, do you
No,
remember?
yeah.
I watched The Fall Guy, American Hero. Do you remember the American Hero? Believe it or
yes,
not.
Yes.
Yeah.
He was.
I loved
later
him.
on, he did a movie that I liked. That might have come out. I think it came out in the 80s called House.
You talk about House, yeah.
Yeah, I enjoyed that movie.
What was his name? What's the gentleman's
I
actor's name?
don't remember.
Oh, gosh.
He's a blonde with curly hair.
Yeah, American Hero was really something else.
Believe it or not.
I just never got why he couldn't fly straight. I don't know if it was just done on purpose or he really couldn't fly.
I don't remember.
Do you remember?
No, I remember the
He was flying, but he always
Yeah.
crashed into
Yeah.
something. It's such a good show.
Oh, it's a believe it or not, I'm walking on air, right? I never thought I could feel so free. Right?
Flying away
Oh
on
my
a wing
God.
and a prayer.
Yeah.
Yeah. You just it's a good show.
That's a good one.
Oh,
We'll have to
gosh.
watch it just
We
so
have
I
to
can.
watch
I
it,
have to,
too. Yeah.
I can't say.
I
It's
think
a good
I got
don't
one.
know.
I think I bought one. I think it was one. What do you call it? Season that I got.
Oh, I think there. Yeah, I
Yeah,
thought I
think we
saw
have
one
it.
down
So
there.
yeah, I brought it because I loved it. But
Believe it or not, we're watching it
Believe it or
later. Oh my god.
it's such a great show. But yeah, there's so many shows out there. Like I said, I watched Fall Guy. What was it? Wonder Woman, The Bionic Man.
Bionic Woman.
Or was it Bionic Woman? The $6 Million Man. I'm sorry, $6 Million Man. And
They should have. Did they date? They should have gone out. right?
Yeah, I thought they were.
The $6 million Man and the Bionic Woman.
Yeah.
I think they should have had something.
Gosh, the sad thing is I used to be so good with the names and I can't remember.
What about these movies, though? No, we're talking about shows.
We're talking about shows, yeah.
Yeah.
But we can go into
Should we go into movies?
We could go into movies. There's so many movies that stick out in the 80s.
Yeah.
Obviously, a huge collection is from John Hughes.
Sure.
He was such a...
He was big. He was
He
huge.
was big. But as I looked at the list of movies, I can't help but notice that there was, like... I didn't see any diversity in this.
No diversity.
I didn't see the diversity that I thought I don't know if that ever came to mind. I just...
Yeah, well...
Even...
I don't know if that was really intentional.
But he made a lot
Or
of
if it
movies.
was because of the areas where he was filming. Maybe that's just the pop, you know.
I don't know. I mean, I know today, like, there's a lot of backlash that were...
Sure.
And obviously, he's not here, right? He's not going to be here to defend himself. And I don't even know if there's any excuse you could give to somebody as why you picked certain people for the... And I guess I'm just referring to just like an all-white cast.
You mean like The Breakfast Club?
Like The Breakfast Club. Or even anything.
sure.
If you look at Pretty in Pink, Some Kind of Wonderful, like, it's all just catered to
They're all white kids.
that. Yeah.
But here's the thing I'm thinking is like the school from The Breakfast Club. That was a real school in
Right.
the Chicago
Yeah.
like suburbs, right?
Yeah.
Now, maybe back then, maybe that school wasn't basically an all white school. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And maybe that's just how it. you
Well,
know.
I love the movies, and I honestly, I don't have a problem with it. And I think I'm speaking specifically when it comes to like Pretty in Pink. I think I can identify with Molly at that time, or because her character is she comes from a poor, right, lower class family, right? It's just her and her father, and I guess back in the day, you just think about is it the problem? I don't know.
The only, like,
like what
non-white-
they're dealing with.
Sure.
You don't think about race. I wasn't thinking about race.
No.
I was just thinking about what they're going through and if that relates to me. Like, can I resonate with that?
Yeah.
And I felt like I could, so that's why I liked the movie. Same thing with Some Kind of Wonderful. He comes from, right? Isn't he like a working class? He works hard and he's poor
Yeah.
and he likes the rich girl, right? Or not, she's not even rich. Leah Thompson wasn't rich in that, right?
No, but she hung out with all
She
the
hung
rich.
out with the rich kids.
Yeah.
Yeah, but so I don't know. I guess I never paid attention to like race when it came to his movies.
But there was one character that I could think of that was not white.
You're talking about the Asian?
Long Duck Tom.
Oh my lord.
Long Duck
Yeah.
Tom. That's the only character
Yeah, but then
from
look
a
how
John Hughes movie that I can
look how
think
he
of.
was portrayed though.
Right.
It was like he didn't speak correctly. He was foreign.
right.
He was made fun of.
Sure, sure.
He was the butt of the jokes. And I'm not trying to bash John Hughes. I loved all his movies. I just felt like now I can see why people are complaining. Like, but again, those were different times, I think.
Yeah.
What do you remember? I mean, do you remember?
I don't think it was intentional,
Yeah, I don't think so either. But
but
it could be different, right? But other movies that stick out, like I said, we talked about that are not in the John Hughes, clique, right? I did like, well, one of them is, right? Like Ferris Bueller's is obviously a big favorite of mine because everything's like
Yeah.
in Chicago. But there are other movies that stand out, like what is
I
that?
like-
Adventures Babysitting or The Goonies,
yeah.
movies that you find they're laughable, like I love Mac and Me. You like Howard the Duck?
I like Howard the Duck. But I like this really weird movie from the 80s called Neighbors.
Oh gosh, you do. Yeah.
Yeah, with Dan Aykroyd and Belushi.
Oh gosh.
And they play neighbors, and
Yeah.
it's the weirdest movie you've ever seen, so.
Oh gosh.
But then again, a lot of the movies that I like are just movies that my dad watched,
Right.
So
Oh gosh.
he had a weird, we grew up watching like the Rocky. When we were like 5 years old, we were watching Rocky Horror Picture Show,
Gosh, you did.
Yeah. Transvestites from Transylvania. And Yeah.
Gosh, I'm trying to think what movies, other popular movies that stick out. Obviously, I like certain movies like with like Somewhere in Time with Christopher Reeves.
Of course.
You know.
You love that.
Do love that movie.
Every time I
It's
fall
a love story.
Every time it seems like I fall asleep and then I wake
have
up,
it
that
on.
movie's on the TV. I don't know what's going on.
I did like the Superman movies though with him. I know a lot of people don't like
I
Christopher
never got into the
Reeves,
Superman movies.
but I do. Yeah.
Now-
And of course, Star Wars was, but Star Wars was mainly like late 70s, early maybe.
I really got into Michael Keaton as Batman.
You did?
That was 1989.
Yeah.
That was and then the year before, of course, Beetlejuice came out.
Beetlejuice. Yeah.
And I mean,
Well, Michael Keaton, I love Michael Keaton, but my favorite of him is
Mr.
Mr.
Mom.
Mom. That's what I remember is Mr. Mom.
Yeah.
I love them.
a lot of people don't realize that he started out as a stand-up comic.
I don't think I even was aware of that.
Yeah, he was a stand-up comic
Yeah.
that got into acting.
Yeah. But he's really, I mean, he can be funny.
Oh, he's hilarious.
But he can be serious and he can be scary because I remember watching him in, what is that movie?
Pacific Heights.
He
Oh.
just threw me away.
That is a
And
great movie. That's with what Matthew Modine
Yes.
and Melanie Griffith.
Melanie Griffith, yeah.
And who does he play? He plays
Well, he has different aliases. Remember, he's not even who he said he is. So he's like, everything is false.
it's a great movie.
Yeah, he has different identities, and obviously he's
yeah.
just scamming.
You know what? Hold on. I hate to do this to like ruin the podcast, but I'm gonna write this down right now because
Why?
I think maybe we're watching that movie tonight. Hold on.
Watching that one. And if you guys haven't watched it, make sure you guys watch it. Let us know what you think about it.
Pacific Heights. That's a
But
great.
you know, it'd
movie.
be nice. It'd be interesting to know what you guys think about Michael Keaton because he is such
That
a.
might be like early '90s.
Pacific Heights is early 90s.
Is it early
yeah.
'90s?
But I just liked him, and I thought he was very.
He was great.
Yeah, but the 80s, he also made a movie with I think it was called Gung Ho.
Yeah, Gung Ho.
I love that one. And it's the isn't it the Asian guy? Isn't it the Asian?
Is it the same guy that played
from-
Long Duck Dong?
Yeah,
I think so.
I think it is. So,
I think so.
if you guys haven't seen that one, that one was hilarious. I thought that was a hilarious movie too,
That's a great movie.
and something he's always working in a car factory.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good one. Yeah, but yeah, movies. I think the 80s movies are so different from today.
Mm-hmm.
They could be so cheesy, but yet you still love them. Some of them.
A lot of them were a lot more raunchy. I think there were a lot more rated R movies back in the 80s.
You do?
I think so, yeah.
Like, you give one specific? What comes to mind?
Just even a lot of the kids' movies. Like, when we were kids, we used to always watch, like, Revenge of the Nerds.
Oh, gosh.
And, I mean,
Yeah.
there's a lot of stuff that you don't want
shouldn't
your
be
kids, you know.
watching. But I don't think I don't know. I want
Yeah.
to say maybe my parents didn't really pay attention to what we watched.
No, they didn't pay attention.
If it was on TV, it's because you were able to watch
The
it.
TV was basically like babysitting.
Yeah, there was no censorship. That's so different.
Oh, my God.
What about music?
Music, yeah.
Oh, but before we leave, you know what came to mind too was, I think what stood out from that. I was a huge fan of Annette Funicello,
Yeah.
and so I remember Life's the Beach. I think it's Life's the Beach.
Back to the Beach.
Is it Back to the Beach?
Are you talking about with Pee Wee
With
Herman
Pee
and
Wee Herman?
Matt? Yeah, Back
Yeah.
to the Beach.
And I always think of her when it comes to the 80s too, because at that time she was obviously starting. I think people weren't realizing that she was like into her.
She was sick, yeah.
Yeah, and what does she have? Did she have multiple sclerosis? I want to say
I
that's
think
what
so.
it is.
I think you're right.
Yeah, and I obviously, if you watched that movie, I knew, as a kid, something was off with
Sure.
her, obviously, but I didn't care. I liked her so much, and I always thought, oh, she's so cute.
What was it? She was a spokesperson for, was it one of the peanut butters? Was it Skippy
I thought it was.
or Jiffy or...
I'm not sure.
Do you remember in the movie Back to the Beach, she
Yeah.
opens the cabinets in the kitchen and
it was
it's
all
peanut butter.
Yeah.
That's all that's in there.
Yep, I remember that.
But and in that movie, Frankie and Annette,
Mm-hmm.
they had this son,
Yes.
and the son was like trying to be like a greaser, like a
Yeah, he was.
he was trying to be like a bad kid,
Yeah.
And there's this one scene where he tells the dad, Frankie Avalon. He's like, listen, from now on, I don't want you to call me by my real name. He's like, call me Knife. and Frankie Avalon's like, Nice? You want me to call you Nice? The kid's like, no, not nice, Knife, you know? And then, of course, Pee Wee Herman's in it, and he sings that...
bird's the word, right?
The bird is the word.
Oh, gosh. You never forget. That's what I said. That sticks out for me. But again, that was during that time where I think you didn't know what was going on. It's sad, you know, and the way she passed away, I thought it was very sad. But I really liked her. I liked their movies back in the 60s.
I think that was a great way for them to
end
their movie career together. Because that was such a great movie.
Yeah. And I always thought they had such a good chemistry together.
Yeah.
I always thought they made a cute couple.
Sure.
But who knew? They were very, very good friends for a long time.
And I'm sure you liked him as the... what was his character in Grease? In Grease. That's late 70s.
Beauty school dropout.
Yeah, beauty school dropout.
Oh, well, he was the guardian angel.
Yeah, he sure
was.
was.
Yeah, he could have been my...
He sure was.
He could have been my guardian angel. I know. I got a little hot now. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, oh my God. Hold on, man. Mari is sweating.
No, he was, he was, I don't know. I don't think they gave him a lot of credit.
Frankie Avalon?
Yeah, I don't think he got a lot of credit.
What was that song that was his big hit? Was Venus, wasn't it?
Venus was his popular hit.
That was a great song.
Yeah. I don't know if he would be considered a one-hit wonder, but that's what it seemed like.
I think he was.
Yeah.
I mean...
And he had such a nice voice. I really liked him. Yeah. Okay, let's move it along.
He was a...
Music. Well, that falls into music. We're talking about music now.
He was like a 50s crooner.
Yeah.
Right?
He was.
He wasn't really a rocker. He was more of a crooner to me, you know?
I thought he was like a little poppy. You know? He was just...
He was. Yeah. He was like Bobby V and, all those other guys.
Yeah, I think so.
But what are we moving on to?
Yeah, because he sure wasn't rock and roll.
No, not at all.
Speaking of rock and roll, oh, look at one of the bands that I'm wearing.
Uh-oh.
Obviously, it was me, Def Leppard.
Didn't you get a program?
I did get a program. I'm so happy I bought it.
From the Goodwill. No, it was from a garage. It was at a flea market.
We found the 1987 or was it 88? It was the Def Leppard tour
program.
Yes, and I'm just glad we snagged it.
Yeah. You never got to see Def Leppard, right?
Never got to see that.
So you could put the music on really loud, sit in a dark room.
And just pretend.
Man. I'll like blow some like fog smoke at you or something.
And then the next time we really got close, we were where were we at? Nashville. Were we in Nashville? And they were playing in the stadium?
Oh, they were, yeah.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah. And there were people walking the streets of Nashville dressed in like Def Leppard wigs and like,
so mad. I wanted to be there. I could have been there. Yeah, but speaking of music, what were your favorites in the 80s?
Well, obviously Michael Jackson was huge, right? Mm-hmm. And
and Prince.
Prince was huge.
Yeah.
Madonna. I remember all the big ones, right?
Yeah, Madonna.
Cyndi Lauper.
Huey Lewis, yeah, for sure. Tina Turner, my gosh.
Yeah,
was popular. Tina. Bruce Springsteen.
The Cars.
Billy Joel. Yes, the Cars. Love the Cars.
The Talking Heads.
Yes. But then you had like Duran, Depeche Mode.
Yeah.
You had all those little Pet Shop Boys, OMD.
Some of these people were like...
Flock of Seagulls.
Became famous in the late 70s and then into the 80s.
Right.
Like Elvis Costello.
Yeah. Who can forget about Wham, the Culture Club?
Yeah.
Gosh.
Culture Club, yeah.
There's so many artists that you never forget.
Yeah. This movie is not from the 80s, but it's from the 90s, but it's supposed to take place in the 80s.
What are you talking about, the Wedding Singer?
Well, when you say Culture Club, the first thing that comes to mind for me is Wedding Singer. I love that scene where Adam Sandler leaves the stage. And his like backup singer only knows one song. And it's Do You Really Want to Hurt Me by Culture Club. So they do the song because Adam Sandler, leaves and has to do something. And then he doesn't come back. So they just do the song again.
Give me time. He says like he cannot. My thing is, he has such a great voice.
Oh
It's
my
like,
God.
I wouldn't mind, like back in the day, if I loved culture, I wouldn't mind hearing this guy sing again.
Are you talking about Boy George?
But say if it was him, because he
Yeah,
had such a
yeah,
nice voice,
yeah.
it sounded, and he did a great job impersonating.
This was Arquette.
This is Arquette, one of the Arquette.
One of the
right?
Arquettes.
Right?
Yeah, yeah. This is great.
Yeah, so if you guys haven't seen The Wedding Singer, we recommend that because that is a totally 80s
It's a
movie.
yeah.
You have to watch that one.
Remember
It
that
was funny.
there's the one scene where her boyfriend shows up and he's like, "Yeah, I got you something. I got you a gift or whatever."
Yeah.
She opens it up and he's like, "It's called a DVD player."
No,
they just came out.
CD
Oh
player.
yeah,
A
CD,
CD player.
It's a CD player. They just came out. You know, they're supposed to sound better than albums and all.
And
that
this was what, 85? Supposed to be 85.
Yeah.
Oh gosh. Again, we can't forget David Bowie was popular, right?
Yeah,
'Cause
I loved, like,
that's another big thing that they have
Let's
in the movie.
Dance.
Yes.
Or China Girl. Like those were some big '80s
Gosh,
hits
yeah.
by David Bowie.
There's so many retro groups, you guys, and I know we probably didn't name a lot of them.
One song I think we can take back from the '80s.
We can take back.
I don't know if it's yeah, like maybe they should have just never
When
done
you
this
said
one.
take, remind me,
No, do you remember?
Take on me.
Remember when David Bowie and Mick Jagger got together
Oh gosh, no.
and they were dancing in the streets?
That's horrible.
I don't know if they should have been dancing in the streets. No, I mean, you know what? It's not too bad. It's not that bad. It's a little corny, but
Yeah. It was a
I
little
like
corny.
it. I like it though.
Yeah.
Thinking back on it,
You like it? Yeah.
sure.
I don't know. But don't forget, we had the Police. We have so
Oh,
many
yeah.
bands, you guys.
Police had so many hits.
Obviously.
Yeah.
And then, of course, we had like Guns N' Roses came out more towards the end.
Sure.
We had Rat. Like, even the hair bands was so big back in the day.
Yeah, I had some cousins that
Yeah.
loved those hair bands.
Yeah. And then we had Genesis with Phil Collins. Although people do not like Phil Collins, they prefer.
my dad used to always say that
Peter?
he preferred Peter Gabriel.
Yeah, I do too.
And I'm
I
just like,
Peter.
yeah, but they didn't have any hits.
I love Phil Collins.
When Phil Collins took over Genesis, they just had all these hits.
Yeah. And he was such a good, I mean, he had a great performance. I mean, for him, he was always like,
But I love
love the way he
solo
performed.
Peter Gabriel. I like when he went solo and did like Sledgehammer, you know.
yeah, you liked him solo.
Yeah.
I think Phil Collins did well solo as well.
I think the best thing for Genesis was when they when
I wouldn't say that. I
when
like
Gabriel
them
left.
to. Oh, you do. Oh,
when
you say
Peter
when he
Gabriel
left.
left because it was good for his career to leave.
Right.
And it was good for Phil Collins, you know.
It was good.
It was good for both of them, right?
Yep.
And they, yeah,
Yeah, but so many music memories, you guys. That's
Sure.
I always like hold dearly to a lot of them, and of course they were girl groups too. My gosh, there was
oh,
so
like
many.
the Bangles, the Go Go's.
Bangles, Expose, yeah, the Cover Girls, you know, things like that. Oh my gosh.
Oh, let's not forget Automatic.
Oh gosh, the Pointer
Pointer
Sisters.
Sisters.
Were awesome. Then you
Yeah,
had like
yeah.
the Ladies of Soul. You had Patti LaBelle,
Yeah,
Anita Baker.
sure.
Gosh, who's that? Cadillac. What's her name? Gosh, there's so many.
Oh, are you talking
then
about Aretha Franklin?
But then,
But you said Patti LaBelle, and I really like that song that she did with Michael McDonald. Wasn't that Patti LaBelle?
On My Own. Yeah,
On My Own. That
I
was
like
great.
Stir It Up. You got
Stir
to
It Up.
stir it
That's-
up. That's
that's a good
my
one.
favorite.
That's a good
yeah,
one.
from
Yeah.
her. Then again, those movies with Beverly. We didn't even talk about Beverly Hills, but
Was Stir It Up from Beverly Hills Cop?
yep, that one's from Beverly Hills Cop. Yeah.
That was a good one. With
Yeah.
yeah, that was a huge movie,
Oh gosh, yeah.
right?
But so many music artists that I wish we can go back. I like a lot of the music back then. There's a lot of cheesy, but
It was great.
it was still great. At least for us. We still have a lot of 80s.
You know
Well,
what's funny? When I was when it was like, I don't know, the 90s, when I was younger back in the 90s, if you asked me about the 80s music, I would be like,
Yeah.
you know what? I don't really want to talk. I'm not into that 80s music. You know, because
You don't.
I was really into like when I was a teenager, I really liked the music from like the 50s and the 60s,
Yeah.
you know?
Well, so was that my mom. I told you my mom would listen to ABBA, and I was into the disco. So I didn't really
Yeah.
care about the 80s. I mean, I did like the 80s.
I liked it when it was happening. But when I got older, I was like, the 80s, whatever. But now that I'm in my 40s, I think back on all that stuff, and it's like really nostalgic, and I really like all those songs. you
I
know?
liked it more, I think, towards the 90s, in the middle of the 90s. But I loved the 60s, the 50s, 60s, 70s, I think, the disco and the ABBA. And yeah, I think that was more
Well,
of.
oldies were big when we were younger, you know?
Definitely.
The oldies station.
Yeah.
And do you remember oldies stations used to play songs from the 50s and the 60s?
Yes.
That was an oldies station.
Well, that's
right?
where I got all the Beatles fixed, you know. That's all you hear, or the Monkees, or the Turtles.
Now, if you turn on an oldies station,
right.
they don't play anything from the 50s.
No.
It's 60s, 70s, and 80s.
Yeah.
That's what an oldies station is now.
Yeah.
That's
so
wild.
Interesting. Oh, wow. But,
That means we're getting old, Mari.
yeah.
You know?
Guess we are.
When we turn on the oldie station and it's like, I don't know, Mariah Carey or something, then we gotta like, oh no.
That's not, I don't even, and the weird thing is, I don't really consider like some of the 90s retro. Like, I can't,
You can't think of it that way, but
no.
I'm sure some people that are in their, teens,
They're probably like, this is
they're
old.
like, that's some old music.
Yeah. Well, when my daughter, obviously, when Emily listens to me and we're listening to the 70s or 80s, she's like, Mom, this music's so old.
Yeah.
And it's like, what? But you've learned to appreciate it, I guess, more. Yeah. We didn't talk about the little romantics either, like Christopher Cross and
Yeah. Well, didn't you say
maybe
sailing?
it's Arthur's
Didn't you say
theme.
sailing?
Yeah, I know,
earlier?
but yeah.
You gotta love Arthur's
Gotta
theme.
love Arthur's,
Well, he
yeah.
does as he
Yeah.
pleases.
Oh gosh. So moving on to current events.
Yeah.
What can we say about current events? What was going on during that time that we remember?
Mari, I was just a kid.
You were just a kid.
I was just
So
a kid.
was I.
I mean, what do you want me to talk about the Berlin Wall? I mean,
Yeah.
I was just a kid. So
Yeah. Well, what did you guys? I want to know what the audience or what did you guys remember? I guess witnessing. I think for me, one of the main. I think I talked about this a lot is the
Sure.
shuttle.
The shuttle. And what year was that?
That was in 1986.
Okay. So I was
Sad,
five. I
and
was
I think
five.
we
So
watched it. We were in the classroom. And I remember I was in second grade.
yeah.
And they had the TV on, and everybody was waiting for that. Obviously, right? It was going to be like the best thing in the world, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're going to witness, obviously, the teacher that was going to go up in space for the first time, right? She was going to be the first teacher. And, but then when it just went downhill, I remember the teacher just turning it off really quickly.
Yeah.
And then the kids stayed and asked questions like, what happened? We didn't know. So I don't remember what the teacher told us if
I
something
saw
bad
a
happened.
documentary about the shuttle, and one of the kids.
What was it? It wasn't Columbia. Was it the Challenger? I always
I
get them
think it was
confused.
the Challenger.
Challenger, right?
I think so.
And you guys in the
I hate-
audience,
if we're
please
wrong, then
correct
we
us.
apologize.
Is it the Challenger or was it Columbia? I don't remember if it was Columbia.
And by the way, that train that you hear in the background
Always comes
always goes
through.
by.
It's so annoying. Very annoying.
The AM Vintage Studio is right next to a train track.
Right, that's all we hear all day long.
But Peter Billingsley, the kid from A Christmas Story, he was in like a space camp program, and he was there that day.
He was.
He was at the, when you watch the launch live.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he
So
saw
you
it
got to
happen.
witness
He saw it
in
happen
live,
yeah.
like live. Oh gosh, it's very scary. Oh gosh, but if you guys remember, another thing we remember too that was really big, but I think because we're close to Chicago, was the Super Bowl shuffle. Obviously, for the Chicago
Sure.
Bears, right? Because they
Yeah,
won the
yeah.
Super Bowl.
That was
That
huge.
was it. And
Yeah.
you had these guys who couldn't dance, couldn't sing,
But it was huge.
but it was huge. It,
It
was
became.
like,
it was a hit.
and it became
Wasn't it a
you
hit
could buy
song?
like the album. Yeah, you could buy just
the Super Bowl Shuffle.
Right, that's all you hear.
Yeah.
It's horrible. How about now fashion? Do you remember how you dressed? Obviously, we talked about some of the shoes and the clothing.
The main
so-
thing I remember about fashion
Yeah.
in the 80s,
Did you like it? Did you like what people wore in the 80s?
I just remember that I always wanted the ends of my pants to be tight.
Tucked in?
To be tight around my
Rolled up?
ankles. So if I had to roll them, I would roll them.
What about the members only jacket? Did you want a members only jacket?
I think I was a little young for members only. Like I said, my jackets were like Michael Jackson jackets.
Yeah.
Beat It and Thriller.
Oh gosh. I guess for me it was more like the jelly shoes. The bracelets, right? We all had the little rubber bracelets
Sure,
and
sure. I remember the jelly shoes. Everybody.
yes. And then I think later on, I think this was more closer to the 90s. We had like the biker shorts. Remember, they were all like little tight little shorts.
Everybody had those.
Everybody
tight
had
shorts,
those.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what about those bracelets that this might have been 90s? I'm not sure. That were like a piece of metal that you would slap on your wrist,
I
and
think
then
that
it
was
would
more
wrap
90s.
around your.
But you know what was in the 80s? Do you remember? It was a headband, but you could also like it was glass, like
Oh yeah,
shades.
those were awesome. Those were cool.
I know I used them as a headband, but
Yeah.
you can use them as a shades, or you
I
could
think
just
one of the dudes from Teen Wolf might have worn
wore
those,
that too. Yeah. There's so much. I should say don'ts, and then the hair was just like
Well, Aquanet.
Aquanet was very
Everybody had to have some Aquanet
lots of high hair.
hairspray.
Yeah.
I don't think gel was the big deal. It was mainly hairspray. That was it. You know, if you had a big old can of Aquanet, you know,
Yeah.
ozone killer, whatever they want to call it. You know,
Yeah, there was just a.
nobody
yeah.
cared about the
Nobody
ozone layer
cared,
back then.
no.
They're like the ozone.
There was a lot
layer,
of
what?
jeans. I think there was a lot of jeans, right? Back in the day, was it jeans that was popular?
Jeans, yeah.
It wasn't like plaid. I'm trying to think of the plaid or
No,
the
it was-
MC Hammer pants didn't come till like the early 90s. Do you remember the MC Hammer
How
pants?
can I forget? You know,
Do you guys remember the MC Hammer pants? What were they? Look like parachute pants. Is that what
they
call them?
look like.
They look like you're gonna.
I don't even want to say what they look like. Let's just say the crotch of MC Hammer pants, the crotch starts at the knee, right? Right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, why do you need that much room in your crotch area? I have no idea, but I guess if that's the style, right?
Right.
Anyway,
Oh wow. Okay, moving along. What about toys? Do you remember the toys?
yeah, of course.
Okay. What was the one I asked?
My big toy, you know this, was
Obviously.
My Pet Monster.
Yes.
I loved that thing.
Yeah.
We still got one. It's in the
We
basement.
still do. And mine obviously was the Hug a Bunch kids. I didn't care for the Cabbage Patch dolls as much. I know those were really big in the 80s.
I liked the Cabbage Patch dolls that were
You like the
like
little
the animals.
The animals.
Yeah. And then, of course, there were the Pound Puppies,
The Pound Puppies, yeah.
the Glowworms. Mm-hmm.
Oh gosh. The board games were fun though I think I loved Monopoly back in the 80s. I think that was fun.
I think a lot more families played board games back then.
I think so too.
One game that I liked to play back then was the game of life.
Oh, gosh.
Because I was just a kid. I didn't know anything about life.
Yeah.
So it seemed fun, you know?
Yeah. I'm trying to think of what other toys were very popular in those days. I know we're forgetting some. We have such a big collection of 80s toys, and for those obviously who are listening to us for the first time, we do have some videos on our YouTube channel that we have.
Like toy collections.
collections
Yeah, we have a
and-
lot of stuff. Like
We have so many things.
we have a lot of cool action figures.
We do.
When I was a kid, the action figure that I remember the most was from Rocky 3. We had the Rocky 3 action figures. So there was Rocky, Apollo Creed, Hulk Hogan, and Mr. T.
Yeah.
Mr. T, we can't forget about him. He was huge back in the 80s,
It was very huge.
right?
We have something. We also have like stuff from the Pee Wee's Playhouse,
Yeah. And what about
the Ninja
the wrestling?
Turtle,
The wrestling
the
figures.
Ninja Turtles. Yeah,
Back when it was called WWF,
right.
but they had to change their name because of the World Wildlife Federation.
Oh God,
Yeah, so
gosh, what was it? Can't think of the W. What does it stand?
it was
Worldwide.
Worldwide.
Right?
WWF was
Wasn't it Worldwide Federation? I could be wrong. Which this has
World
been so.
Wrestling Federation,
Yeah, World Wrestling Federation.
and then it just got changed to WF, right?
Right. Oh gosh, if the acronyms weren't there, I don't think I know. But oh wow, yeah, so many toys that I wish would. I don't know. I think today the kids nowadays don't even know what. I mean, the toys are just
There
so
were some-
different. They're really
A
some
lot
cool,
of kids aren't into toys anymore.
right?
You know, they go straight from the bottle to
To
the cell phone.
The cell phone.
They avoid the
Like,
toys.
what in the world is wrong with these kids?
Yeah.
Again. Oh gosh. And I think, and of course, the price of the toys were different. I don't know if they were that expensive. Like today, now I feel like some of the toys are really expensive.
Sure.
Yeah. I don't know. But then speaking of expensive, that goes into real life situations like gas prices.
Yeah.
Do you remember how much gas was?
Back in the day.
It was probably like what, 80?
It was
Well,
like
in the
a
80s, I don't
buck.
know if it was under $1 or something.
I do remember going to the gas station with like $5 and you just fill
I
your car
remember
up.
my dad saying, go tell him $5.
It
Right?
was always $5.
Yeah, it was.
You know?
He said,
Anytime
that
you
was
would-
that was the amount.
Nobody put $20 in the car. Nobody did that.
No. Even
Right.
with $3, I remember one time. I
Yeah.
think my mom.
We'd show up at the
Put
gas
$3.
station. We'd have a bunch of change. We'd throw a bunch of change on the counter.
Oh gosh.
Be like $4.80.
And nobody paid with like these debit cards and all that.
Nobody,
Everything's so
no.
different.
All cash.
We didn't have no online banking and all that. We
Yeah.
just had cash. But yeah, again, that goes into like the cost of living too.
What was great though about like all cash back then is if like the electricity went out, they could still like do a transaction. You know what I mean? They knew how to do transactions without like if the computer didn't work.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's true.
the computer don't work. I'm sorry, we can't do any transaction. You got to go. Like
That's true.
it was a simpler time, wasn't it?
Yeah, but the cost of, we were talking about this earlier. We were talking about the cost of living, how much it was back in the day. We didn't feel like it was a lot. Or maybe it was.
You know what?
It just doesn't feel that way. But again,
It
we
doesn't.
weren't. But it had to have been a lot.
I'd have to ask my parents.
Because you did mention the minimum wage you were getting paid back in the day.
Oh yeah, well yeah. You got to think.
If I remember correctly.
My first job, I was getting paid at like between $6.50 and $7 an hour.
Yeah, what year though?
And that was like probably like I don't know, the mid 90s.
You had to. You probably and you're probably getting paid more than I am because I remember 90. I'm older than you.
Yeah, you're older than me.
So I remember working in 1995. I think the minimum for me was I was making $5.
Wow.
So, and this was like a full-time job. So I know that the cost of living was such, it's different. It's just
I felt like I was getting like $7 at the Dairy Queen, living it up, making dilly bars and
Oh gosh. Well, that's even better than I did. Now, what about school? Do you remember learning the things like how do you feel how do I ask this? What's the difference between
I think
what's being taught today and then when it was
I guess
back
I
in the
know a
day?
little bit about this because I remember the stuff that I was taught.
Mm-hmm.
And now like when my kids need help with their homework, I have no idea what the hell I'm doing. You know what I mean? I'm looking at this math homework sometimes and I'm just like, we never had to explain this much about how we got to the answer.
No, and if you
know
guys
what I mean?
remember correctly when you did math problems, I don't know, maybe everybody's different, but when I did a math problem, I remember if it was if it was subtraction, I thought we were work from left to right.
Sure.
And now it seems like people are doing it right to left, which
It's crazy.
I do not understand that.
Like when the kids need help,
Yeah.
it's just a nightmare. I can figure out what the answer is for sure.
But you don't know how to
I'll-
explain it.
But I don't know how to explain how I got the
To the
answer.
answer, yeah.
And that's the whole
Yeah.
all they want is the explanation.
I know, because I think at one time we were doing like a subtraction. I said, you got to cancel and then borrow. And they're like, borrow what? I guess the terms are different
Everything's
too.
different.
Like, forget it.
And they don't write in cursive anymore. Everything's like block letters, right?
Everything's different.
I just remember like
Because
learning
now
cursive.
you don't need to know how to write in cursive. You don't even use a pencil or a pen. Now everything's on.
Sure.
That's very
And all
scary.
kids nowadays have a laptop.
Yep. Everything's all homework is done on a laptop.
I mean, I remember when our school got like a computer lab and we'd get to go to the little computer
That
lab.
was like a special treat, you know?
Sure.
You imagine?
But
You
now
get to play
every
games.
student has a computer.
Everybody has. It's not special anymore.
No more computer labs, right?
No more computer labs. Oh gosh. Now, how do you feel that? I guess that goes into tying with parenting. I know we talked a little bit about how parenting is now compared to the 80s. From our experience,
nowadays,
only from our experiences.
Well,
you guys.
we have our kids on a little bit tighter leash than our parents did.
I think that is true.
Back in the 80s, it was just be back before dark, or even if it's dark, whatever, like.
I'm going to say that that's probably true with your kids, but I've been around other people who have kids, like
Sure.
The generation today that are having kids. I don't know if they're. What do you call them? Is it the gen? I don't know. What are they? The ones after us that are born like in the 90s and 2000s. What generation is it? Generation X?
They're just like the futurist.
Whatever. Whatever. They're not the millennials. The millennials are like 2000s, right? Yeah. Whatever the case is, I just feel like there has to be something. Obviously, they did not do how we were raised. I guess they didn't do what our parents did for us. I think nowadays kids get away with a lot of things.
Yeah.
Like back in the day, you were able to spank your kid, right?
Sure.
Disciplining was a lot different. Obviously, we got smacked over the head.
Spank your kid. Now you can go to jail.
Now you can go to jail. You're not allowed to, you can't even yell at your kid in public.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that is correct because people are like, what? But, we were obviously our parents were a lot different with us growing up.
Sure. Like, you couldn't just go up to a group of adults and just start talking.
No, that's...
You know what I mean? Like, not...
No, I think there's the lack of respect.
Sure.
And that happens with a lot of kids, too. And I remember when Emily first did that. And I remember thinking, wait a minute, if that would have been me, I didn't even see it coming. What I mean is my mom would just smack me and that was it. Like, I did not see it coming. And I never again would be in the business because it was an adult conversation. And but today now kids, what are you talking about? And
what'd you say?
What'd you say? And we're like, this has nothing to do with you. It's like there's the lack of Yeah. But you can't. It's not like you can smack them on the head and. Yeah, I think the disciplining is a lot different too. And the way you talk to parents, I think a lot of kids do not talk to their parents correctly. They have they're very disrespectful.
Yeah. They're all Eddie Haskells nowadays.
Oh my God. They're worse. I'll take Eddie Haskell over these kids.
Yeah, because
unfortunately.
At least Eddie could fake it. Right?
He can, and he probably came to senses too, but these kids, there's no, Oh, you can't hit me? They report you, right?
Yeah.
But then that's worried. That comes to, them finishing high school. I guess everybody learns differently. What do you think about kids today going to college versus the 80s?
Well, it's not, I don't think it's as important as it used to be. It used to be everybody, you go to college. Like, that's what you're supposed to do.
Right. Now there's so many options that people have.
Yeah.
I don't think it's necessary. I'm not saying, and I'm not trying to persuade anybody.
Well, plus a lot of people don't want to have that debt. That college debt.
But is it necessary? Back in the day, it's like you had to have that education or else you couldn't get this type of job, right? Or this career. And now it seems like it's more attainable, because I feel like you can probably do it without having the proper education. Or enough educate, right? You get so much education for certain things.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Well, I think that's
it's just,
right?
I mean, talking about parenting and
when it comes to
education,
parenting and education,
it's not quite
Adam
as,
is like, it's not exciting
it's
enough.
It's not quite as exciting about, what movies did we see back in the 80s,
I should ask you, what did you do during the parenting? What did you do were you one of those kids that disrespected your dad?
No, but I did get kicked off the school bus a few times.
You did?
Yeah.
That's not good.
So,
Not good.
Well, they don't kick you off at first. First, they give you a few pink slips.
At least you got on a school bus. I had to walk home.
You had to walk home.
Walk to and from
So was it?
school. And it was
was
cold.
it uphill both ways?
No, but it was
Barefoot?
probably like 10 blocks. 10, 12 blocks.
Really?
Yeah. So yeah, I had my share. In the wintertime, it was worse. All right, you guys, this will wrap up on our
But you
our
know, real
growing
quick
up,
though,
right?
Ari,
Yes.
I gotta say, since we're talking about school though,
Yeah.
is did you know that I actually quit school?
Oh gosh.
No, I quit school because of recess.
Right.
I mean, because I don't play. So.
This is when you have the crickets. I wish we had the little special effects.
No special
with the
effects on this
crickets.
podcast.
No special effects. All right, you guys. I hope you guys like this episode. It was fun reminiscing about the 80s. Like I said, I love the 80s. I wish I could go back, but
Maybe next time
can't.
we'll talk about the 90s
maybe we'll talk about the 90s.
because she's just dying to talk about 90210.
I am dying to talk about 90210 and Melrose and what
And
else.
Melrose Place, right?
Yeah, and Saved by the Bell. Well, Saved by the Bell was a little
Saved
bit
by the Bell.
late.
And I mean,
80s
and you know
to
what?
90s.
And
Yeah,
just if I can be allowed to talk about the Shawshank Redemption,
Oh, gosh.
then I'll be happy.
that'll make his day.
So maybe we will do a 90s.
I think so.
Right.
Yeah. Well, thank you guys so much for joining us. I hope you can actually leave us in the comments. What do you think about, or what do you remember from the 80s?
Yeah.
And what's your most memorable experience?
I don't know if that's going to be appropriate.
Okay, your mind is in the gutter. We're
Anyways.
talking about memorable experience
Yeah.
from the 80s. Whether maybe some people were probably teenagers.
Sure.
Some people were probably
Well.
adults, maybe they were already like working hard and having a family. So I'd like to hear about your experiences, or I should say, we would like to hear from you guys. So
Yeah.
thank you guys so much for tuning in. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode, and hopefully we'll see you guys next time, hopefully with a different, let's see what topic we come
Yeah. Let's end it with this.
Coincidence.
Let's end it with this train, Mari.
into with the mystery train. Yes.
The train's going by, everybody.
Again, for the fourth time?
For the fourth time.
If you guys can tell me how many times this train came through our podcast today.
If
I'd
it gets
like
to
hear.
4 trains, we got to end the podcast. Like, it's time to go. It's time to go.
Now just imagine this multiplied times what? 2?
Yeah.
For the whole night?
All,
We get it all night.
all night long. We're
What are
talking
you?
about the train.
What are you?
We're talking about the train.
I was gonna say, are you Lionel Richie? All right, you guys. Thank you so much. I hope you guys take care and join us for
is
some
a
more
bunch of
adventures
comedians over here. Okay, everybody.
next Wednesday, you guys. Thank you so much. I hope you guys can take care, and we'll see you then.
See you later.